Chuck. Yeah, obviously we've got myself. We have a new guest. I'll introduce in a little bit. And we've got Dave hiding in the back. Is anyone on YouTube?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, are you ready to get started, Dave? All right. Well, let's everybody stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bob, do you mind doing the honors?
All right, please. Oh, Father, again, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We pray for our people who are flying, keep them safe. Those on the ground, keep them hydrated, Father, and provide them with safety of travel. Be with those that are still en route for our meeting, and most of all, we just praise the work that the people have done for this United States. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Oh, did we lose the little puffy top? Oh, okay. I don't think we need it. I'm not going to spit on it or anything. Little windscreen. All right. Let's see. I am going to check my email real quick here and see if we have any messages from our illustrious commander. So I don't know if well, I can't. Is someone talking? No. Okay. Oh. All right. There's Nathaniel. Excellent. All right. So the only announcement I've really got is there is a Riverside tenant meeting here over at the terminal. Looks like it's going to be on Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. Oh, were you going to say something? Oh. It was decent. Actually, last time it was actually pretty interesting. If you're interested in what's going on at Riverside Airport, it's worth showing up just to kind of, see who's who in the zoo when it comes to airport staff and other tenants. And they had last time they had the FAA representative from the FSDO, pretty cool guy. Just talked some, people didn't want to ask questions because, the feds are there, but really nice guy, seemed very approachable, and all around a good time. If you're going to go, you don't have to, be invited or anything, just show up. Only thing we ask is you wear at least this uniform, our polos. I was overdressed. I wore my my aviator whites when I was there, and I felt extremely out of place. So don't do that. I think what else is going on. I don't see any other messages, and I know Andre made it safely to Oshkosh, so he's down there or up there having a wonderful time. Already giving me lots of things to spend money on that I don't want to spend money on. But sounds like it's pretty fun up there. I haven't heard anything about the weather. Is it bad this year? Has anyone heard? Because last year it was kind of sketchy most of the time. Well, there was there was the storms, but then there's the horrible winds. So yeah. Let's see. I think what else we've got going on here. Reminder for everyone. Our plane is ungrounded. I think I just saw that from Lon earlier. I don't know if Lon wants to do an update, but that's the update that I've seen from Lon. Is the plane is ungrounded. The was it the 100-hour? Let's see. Maybe very accurate here.
Within 5 hours.
Yeah. So she's all good to go. What else? Let me check my notes. See what I've got.
Was
see. He says no current discrepancies. So, but as we know, there's always something going on with those G1000s. So, although I didn't notice 2 weeks ago, I didn't notice any issues with the brightness. So, and then that screw kept falling out, but I guess that's been dealt with in the window. Let's see. Before I know Chris is chomping at the bit back there, but before he gets to it, oh, what? Chuck? Oh.
Just want to let everybody know there is a national communications exercise coming on August 2nd.
Okay.
For the Pacific Coast region. If you need information about that, send me an email. But if you need that for one of your qualifications for your technician or whatever you're working on.
Okay. To repeat, you said there is a national communications exercise on
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
And it'll be at Wednesday evening, Thursday 0100 Zoom. So we're looking at about 6 p.m.
Okay. 6 p.m. And do you need to contact anybody if you want to participate?
Yeah, there is some information. I can email you what I have if you want to distribute it, or they can email me. I'm good in.
You can, in fact, you can probably just post it in. Are you on the Teams?
Yep.
You can just post it there. That's
Okay.
that's easier. Everybody will see it.
Perfect.
Yes. His iPad's not working? Okay, okay. Let's see. Are there? I'd like to introduce our guest. We have a guest here today, Torrance. I hope I get that right. Yeah. Torrance is a first visit to the squadron. So just so you know, you have to put up with us for at least 3 nights before you can you make a decision. We make a decision if we all want to. You want us to be part of your family, and you be part of our family. After that 3rd visit, we'll get you, if you'd like, we have you fill out an application and get sent off to National and join our squadron and reap the benefits thereof. But anyways, Torrance is a pilot as well, currently studying for your commercial.
CFI, waiting for my check ride.
Waiting for a commercial check ride, studying for a CFI. So good times. Good to have another experienced pilot join the squadron. What else? Bob, you have anything safety related that we need to relay?
No, he talks about heat and stuff. Temperatures are slowly going down this week. So just keep hydrated.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. As we know, it's super hot, and when it's super hot, we obviously have to worry about density altitude. So if you're flying, do your weight and balance really carefully. Put in some margin of error. Keep hydrated. Don't get dehydrated while you're flying. That's always bad. So, and other than that, fly safely, especially in this heat. It is, I don't know. I've been avoiding it, so I know I know most people have been avoiding it. So there's that. I'm trying to think. Was that one of our guys?
Yeah, that was Lon.
Oh.
Yeah, he's basically connected to YouTube,
Okay.
but he might be switching the teams so we can talk.
Okay. Okay. All
I
right.
got one question for August.
Okay.
I see the 29th is the 5th Tuesday. Canceled. Am I right or wrong?
Huh. Did somebody cancel
Andre.
it? Oh, did he cancel it?
I'm not sure. So it's in the.
Oh yeah, I do see it canceled. Huh. I don't know. I don't know why.
Oh, we got time to correct it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the question was, so normally, and for those of you who are new, our meetings are Tuesday at 7 p.m. here in the squadron headquarters, the squadron room here. Every fifth Tuesday, we change it up a little bit. Meeting starts at 6, but we have it over at the hangar. And in the hangar, we have a little cookout and, just kind of a get together. It's an unofficial, you don't have to wear uniforms that day. But it's just to kind of, get together, do a little esprit de corps, as they say. I think it comes from the tradition back in the day. We would all go get our night qualifications again if you needed to have some night landings, and everybody would kind of take turns doing their 3 landings. I think that's where it started, and then from there it just kind of moved on to having a barbecue in the hangar. Our hangar's on the other side of Riverside Flight Academy, so if you ever show up on a fifth Tuesday and nobody's here, it's because we're over there. That's all. But it sounds like the next one might or might not be canceled. We'll find out. Let's see. I think if I have anything left.
I wanted to talk about Zelda. He's typing it in, so as it comes in,
Well, is he? Okay. Okay, I can see. So letting Lon know I can see the chat. So if he wants to type it out, I can. And I'll vamp until he starts typing. So he's talking about Zelda, and again, for the new people, our aircraft currently is a 182 Tango G1000, naturally aspirated, and that is, I should know this by heart by now, but we call it Cap 443, or it's 743 Charlie Papa. Because see, here's the thing. Whenever I start saying it, when I first joined this squadron, we had 473 Charlie Papa, which was a turbocharged 206. So I always get it completely discombobulated in my head when I start speaking. Anyways, 743 Charlie Papa, also known as Cap 443. Oh, I thought I heard you. Oh.
Yeah, this is Ron Alfred.
Oh, well, there you go. Hang on. Let me see if I can throw you up on the big screen. Hang on. Yeah, no, what's going to be the best way to do this?
Yeah, I don't have video on my Windows machine here. Just I plugged in an old microphone, so maybe you can hear me.
I can hear you just fine. Let me see if I can get you onto the big screen. Stand by. Alright. Alright, try now, on.
Okay.
Oh, still coming out there. Hang on. That's weird. I'm sharing, but the sound's not going over, so that's a bummer. Hang on. Wonder why that's doing it like that. It's interesting. Ah. And you say something, Lon?
Okay, we finally got the logbooks signed off
Oh, well. All right.
this afternoon.
That's
Nothing.
Yeah, they can't hear you on the TV. I'll just turn my iPad up really loud.
Okay.
All right. You guys can hear it, right?
Yep.
All right.
Whatever
Perfect.
works.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. The aircraft finally got the logbook signed off this afternoon, so I ungrounded the plane and I sent out a message
Okay.
if
I
I'm
mean,
getting checked out on that.
it
As far as just the G1000
well,
system.
it doesn't transfer, but what it'll mean is when you fly with a cap instructor who's gonna basically evaluate how fast you can come up to speed, they'll be like, well, obviously you're up to speed, so just go do the check ride. That's the difference. Like, right? I mean, and like as an example, by the time that I take my check ride, I know how to use the G1000. So I'll take the quick online course, and which is just read this book and answer some questions. When I get in the plane, it'll be apparent that I know how to use the G1000. If you haven't used G1000, that's just a little bit of training that they're going to have to do to get you familiar enough to fly a VFR flight with a G1000. Right? Which is basically using the PFD, flight plans, the engine monitor. You want to add to that, Lon?
Once you get your turbo checkout, that's good forever.
Oh, that's good. You don't have to redo the turbo again?
Nope.
Oh, well, there you go. See, so find a turbo and get qualified in it. I mean, so you're hearing a lot of angst though, because the problem is let's fast forward. We have a 206, you get checked out in it. You go get checked out, G1000 signed off. So now when you renew, we have a 206 that'll renew your 206. You can take your check ride in the 206. But to renew your G1000, you'll have to go find a 182 or a 206 that's available that you can get an instructor and go renew your check ride in that aircraft. That's why it's complicated, because we don't have that kind of aircraft anymore. We won't soon. Like we'll find out.
You only have the one aircraft at a time.
Well, some squadrons have multiple aircraft, but not us. I mean, sometimes they drop planes here because they're here for maintenance. Because the Civil Air Patrol local maintenance facility is here at Riverside. So we do have planes that come here transient. But once you're kind of in the pilot program and you're training and you're qualified, it's a matter of finding an aircraft that you can actually get to. So Orange County, Fullerton, Torrance, we have aircraft at those locations. You have to, and when you get to that point, you'll know how to search for the aircraft in the system and find out which ones are available and how to schedule them. I don't know. I don't know. I think the question was, where is 7743 Charlie Papa going?
Fullerton.
Fullerton. So Fullerton is not too far away. I mean, a little bit of a drive, but all right. Anything else to add, Lon?
Not this time.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else online want to add anything before I bring Mr. Stin up? Nope. All right. Mr. Lopez, what's going on? I think you got something for us.
Spacecraft.
Are you gonna want me to leave mine up, or are you gonna use yours, or?
Yeah, because I think it'll get weird if I try to do the audio on mine.
It's always weird. In fact, it says I'm sideways. I don't know. I don't know why it did.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The system. I mean, you can tell I haven't moved my iPad. So, anyways, here's Chris.
You have the earphone down on the lower taskbar. If you click on that, is there a
If I-
bar that comes
nope,
up
I gotta
for
turn
volume?
this way.
No,
There we go. Now, if I turn this way, then I'm right.
I mean,
side
is
up.
it? I mean, if you guys are seeing me sideways, I don't know what to do about that. Like, see, because
You
it's
were
just,
actually right side up on this.
yeah. That's I don't know. I think it
That's
might have a
me.
room to put it somewhere.
All right. I am gonna let me get my presentation up here real quick.
Oh, and Lon, you might want to go on mute.
Okay.
Let me just find the button that shares the presentation. That's always the challenge here. Because Microsoft. All right. It worked. Sweet. So,
Oh yeah, look at stressing that processor. Look at it.
yes. So last week, or last month, what was it, 2 months ago? Last time,
Last time,
Um,
here, it's always fun.
I gave an overview of the Artemis mission to the moon and to eventually Mars. So I'm going to pick up today talking about the Orion spacecraft. The Orion, specifically about the crew module itself, which is, if you're looking at this, that's the center silver piece there on that exploded view. And it's changing with just one tap this time. So, the crew module, sometimes referred to as the capsule. You see it there. This the big white thing now on the screen, and it.
Let's see if we can get this exploded for everybody. Keep going. Don't mind
Okay.
me.
The as you can see, I mentioned before, it's very similar in design to the old Apollo capsules. It is built primarily by Lockheed Martin and has enough room for 4 astronauts and up to 21 days without having to dock at another spacecraft, such as the space station. The advances they made in technology may, improve the life support, the avionics, power system, and thermal protection are going to support and protect the crew during the entire process. Oh, there we go.
Close enough.
That's
Close
close
enough.
The interior, this here is the pressure vessel. So all that yellowish green that you're looking at there, that's actually the sealed chamber that the astronauts are inside. So all the white that you see on the outside is panels over top of this sealed yellowish chamber, and that's basically the underlying structure that again, it says on the slide here, holds the pressurized atmosphere. The has 7 large aluminum alloy pieces joined together using friction stir welding. I have no idea what that is. I'm not a welder, nor an astrophysicist. Okay, and it's produced at NASA's facility in New Orleans. It creates a lightweight and strong, airtight capsule. Again, that's the view without the shielding. The shielding is these pieces here. That's called the back shell. This is what gives it that characteristic white gumdrop look that we're all familiar with these types of space capsules. It's made up of 1,300 tiles, and they're made of a silica fiber material. This particular material is similar to what's been used on the space shuttle. And again, as I mentioned last time, the new system is a melding of space shuttle technology, Apollo technology, and of course newer advancements in technology. I was like, I thought that was. Here we have a view of the heat shield. So this is the bottom side of the capsule as you see it descending from space. As you can see, it's quite large based on the scale of that scientist next to it. It is 16.5 feet in diameter, and when Orion initially enters the atmosphere, it'll be going about 25,000 miles an hour and generate about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit of heat, which is about half as hot as the sun, according to this. I don't know if that's the surface of the sun or somewhere inside, because it didn't say. They weren't specific on which part of the sun. It's made of blocks of a material called Avcoat, which is a reformulated version of what was used on the Apollo capsules. So again, like I said, the outer shell was similar. The upper shell was similar to the space, has the same materials on the space shuttle or similar material. This has a similar material to what's on Apollo capsules. This is an interesting material. This is ablative thermal This is an ablative thermal shield, which, if you're not familiar with the term ablative, basically that means that instead of trying to dissipate the heat, pieces of the shield actually kind of burn off and fall off, and they leave the capsule so that that heat is no longer attached, and so it's not like a heat sink we have on like our computers, right? It stays attached and just kind of cools it through radiation. This literally just takes some of that heat and moves it away from the entire craft. It's of course a controlled method of that. It's not just crazy, and that's one of the things they've been testing. The next piece here is the forward bay cover. That's the silver UFO looking thing hovering above the crew, or above the engineers and scientists in this picture. This is the last piece that gets jettisoned before on reentry. So this protects the top of the vessel. It protects the what do you call those things? Parachutes, and protects them during reentry, during launch, and basically just before they open the parachutes. And in one of the pictures, you can actually see, I don't have that picture on here, but in one of the pictures of the splashdown from the Artemis 1 mission, you can actually see this piece kind of floating right next to the main capsule as the parachutes are being are opening up. The that shield, it says that it deploys the parachutes roughly at 23,000 feet, so that's where this piece ejects itself from the rest of the spacecraft. And again, that's the last piece that comes loose before the craft, what's left of it, hits the water. The reaction control system thrusters, another major component of this piece. You can see the picture here of some engineers working on the thruster, on one of the thruster units. I couldn't actually get a really good picture of the standalone thruster by itself. I don't know if that's just something they're guarding the image too closely on, or what, but everything I have here is direct from NASA on their public page, so I'm not just spilling any secrets here. But it is 12 small engines in total for the 12 thrusters, and of course the reaction control system thrusters on the capsule. Their main purpose is to keep the capsule properly oriented for reentry, so that it's not, so that big heat shield I showed you earlier will stay, face first into the atmosphere. Because if it gets the wrong side on there, then everybody dies. To put it bluntly, so that's what the main point of that these control thrusters are. They also provide a little limited maneuverability to the capsule while it's in space, but for the most part, the capsule has other thrusters and such for that, for it's primarily in its space portion of the mission. The interior. Now, this picture is a little bit hard to make out what you're looking at because the orientation is not what we're used to seeing. And I'm going to have a video in a few seconds. That's one of the videos I posted on the in the chat that shows a better view of what the interior shows. It makes it easier to understand what you're looking at. Basically, the interior here, this is the seat. You're looking at some seats. There's 4 seats in this picture that are facing upwards. So the crew, this is in launch position. So the heat shield will be at the bottom of this picture outside, and the crew would be basically sitting in those seats, strapped in, pointed up at the sky, ready for launch. The interior, actually, those seats, once they're in space, actually fold up and stow away, so to give the crew additional maneuvering room inside the capsule. It says that the seats are designed to accommodate nearly 99% of the human population. So, guess they'll handle some pretty good range of people. And they are adjustable, of course. The interesting thing I saw about this also is they mentioned that this capsule is the second largest interior of any spacecraft that we've made so far. Now, granted, that's on a scale that's the second largest out of I think 4 designs. So the largest, of course, being the space shuttle itself. But still, it looks really, really cramped. But when you factor in that there's 4 human beings that are going to be fitting in here, that's with a lot more space than they had on the Apollo mission, which only had 3. It actually is pretty roomy, and behind those metal panels on the bottom there is actually additional storage space and maneuvering room and the bathroom, which I'll get to in a second, right here. To the right, the picture in here is the space toilet, which I'm sure we're all wish we had on a plane sometimes. You're gonna have to use your imagination as to how that thing works, because it's got the tags describing what the parts are there, but I'm not quite sure that that's what I would call a seat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. But an additional accommodations that they have here, they have dispensers to provide drinking water, a simple way to rehydrate and warm food, which hopefully their food rehydrators are just as cool as the ones in Back to the Future 3 were. I'm sorry, Back to the Future 2. I do have exercise equipment for aerobic and strength training, so that the astronauts will be able to maintain their muscle mass, which is always a difficult thing for the space crews. And I mentioned before that behind the metal shielding on the back, this is where the space toilet is. That's also where a solar flare shelter exists, where they will basically go inside there, and I show a video on how that exactly works. Basically, go inside, cover up with all the stuff that they've got in the cabin, and provide radiation shielding for themselves. One of the quotes from them, because of course this is a closed circuit system, is that today's coffee is tomorrow's coffee, because everything is recycled. Everything. I'll again leave that to your imagination. So this is a video. This is the first of the 2 video links that I posted in the chat. So if you guys are if there's any troubles playing that, this is what you can click that and see the video there. But I'm going to play it here. I'm going to try to.
Whew. Holy moly. All right. Hi, my name is Jessica Voss, and this is Ann McLean, and we are here today helping the designers of the Orion capsule evaluate the ability to protect their crew from radiation. Radiation, as you know, is really harmful, and so the whole point is for us to get into a really cool little shelter and take all the equipment we have in this capsule and put it over us as best as possible. And we have to make sure it's stowed and that we are safe and we have everything we need in terms of supplies down in this awesome little bay. Yeah, going to space is hard and going to deep space is harder. And the technologies that we're going to need to successfully get to Mars have been being developed for many years. And it's going to take many tests like this one over many years by a large group of people in order to make that mission successful in the 2030s. So we're excited to get there, and we're working every day toward that goal.
So yeah, the video actually played pretty smoothly on our end here. So, but again, like I said, they just go inside the storage areas in the bottom and just pull everything on top of them, and a lot of that stuff is made out of heavy metals, so it will absorb the radiation.
Yeah, resistance to claustrophobia is an astronaut training trait.
Yeah, you definitely are not. If you're a claustrophobic, you will not make it in NASA. That's basically NASA and the submarine corps is basically where you must not have claustrophobic issues. Now, this is something I'm pretty sure all of us pilots are really interested in seeing. the actual cockpit controls. It is a glass cockpit. It has 3 vertically oriented screens there. This particular image is a mock-up. It's not the actual capsule itself, as you can tell by the fact that there's a mock-up of Earth outside the windows. But yeah, they have 3 vertically oriented displays, about 60 physical switches, 2 hand controllers, just like you'd see on, latest video games or fighter jets, and 2 cursor control devices. I'm not exactly sure where those are in this picture. That might, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It might be the things in the top right and the top left of the.
Well, you see, like one's on the far bottom left, and then one's to the right.
I'm seeing. What do you mean? I'm seeing this thing.
Oh no, I'm thinking
It's
it's
right
that
next to
gray
the
thing
joystick.
next to the joystick.
Next to the joystick.
Yeah. Somebody displaced our pointer. I'm thinking it's these.
It could be.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe. I'm sure they figured out the ergonomics better than we did.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting to see, what kind of controls they've got there. The one thing that I did note is they are not going to have to carry any large paper manuals. All the manuals and emergency processes are built into the screens. I'm pretty sure that there's enough redundancy, but I don't know if the FAA will be, happy with them not having a POH on board. That's part of their aerodocs, isn't it? So, but yeah, that's one neat thing there that they had is they don't have to, be flipping through books, which I, believe that wasn't one of the points they had to do in Apollo 13, wasn't they? Show them flipping through the books, trying to figure out what to do. Yeah. Oh yeah, and they actually used the books to make the filter fit. Yep, I remember that now.
So I don't know if that's a great idea.
Next part here is the environmental controls life support systems. Now I couldn't find an actual good picture of the environmental control systems itself, which is probably honestly just going to be a bunch of wires and canisters and tubes. Probably not nearly as interesting as the actual spacesuit itself is. But the way that they have made this system has regenerable system to remove CO2 and humidity to keep the air clean. Maintaining the temperature and pressure, of course, it's designed to detect if the internal environment becomes unsafe. And the crew's spacesuits themselves integrate with the systems, with the spacecraft's overall life support system, provide up to 6 days of life support. If the ship itself fails, they'd suit up and they'll be okay in those spacesuits for 6 days. Especially in the event, say, like the HAL 9000 takes over and won't open the pod bay doors. Sorry, I had to throw that part in there. The parachutes that I mentioned earlier, these are, it's a triple parachute system for the primary chutes that will slow the spacecraft from 25,000 miles per hour to 325. After it reaches that point and it's just about to hit the water, another 11 parachutes systematically deploy to slow it down to about 20 miles an hour for a fairly gentle touchdown into the Pacific Ocean. One of the other graphics they had showed that the parachutes, when lined up, at least when the 3 main chutes are all lined up next to each other instead of kind of overlapping or whatever like they're here, those 3 main chutes cover about 90 yards. And they said it'll cover, in NASA's wonderfully awkward way of saying it, it covers a football field from the 10-yard line to the 10-yard line. Could have just said 90 yards.
This is a Ghost Rider joke.
Yeah, or 80 yards, I'm sorry, but yeah.
It's the Ghost Rider joke.
Well,
he jumped between the goalposts, and the goalposts aren't exactly 100 yards. It's a Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's that was what they were awkward. But in the series of pictures, what you see here, the top left picture, that's the single parachute in the wind tunnel, testing it out. The top right is the initial drop test when they were in Yuma. So that was the bottom left is an abort flight test from a launch pad, and then the bottom right is the first initial landing of the Artemis 1 mission. So that's the actual different stages they went through of testing it. And then one last video this video here is the one I mentioned earlier. This is the second video of the links that I posted. If anybody watching at home wants to pull it up, but this is the interior of the Orion from space.com. So this is the only thing I hear that's actually not directly from NASA.
Behind me is the Orion spacecraft. That's the spacecraft, the capsule that will take people to the moon, beyond, somewhere else. I had a chance to catch up with some of the folks behind the scenes making Orion possible. Let's go check it out.
Hey, welcome to Orion. This is a medium fidelity mock-up of Orion. We call it medium fidelity because certain aspects are really high fidelity. And what we use this mock-up for is all different sorts of human factors experiments. And what we mean by that is we test the people part of the spacecraft. And for example, you can see 4 seats. These are the seats and the consoles that the astronauts will be seated in and strapped into for their ride from the launch pad into space and then for re-entry too. So for example, in this mock-up, these are very high fidelity mock-ups of the seats in exactly the locations they'll be on the actual Orion vehicle. And what we do here is we practice the crew getting into and out of their seats while they're suited up. And once they're in their seats, you'll see this console right here. This is the crew's control panel. And if you can you swing that camera around and take a look what our control panel looks like?
Yeah, here we go. So, wow.
Isn't that something? Three computer monitors, and Orion is largely flown by computer with the ability for the crew to interact with the control system. So in this facility, we make sure the crew can get in and out of their seats, and we can make sure they can reach all of the displays and controls they need to operate the vehicle.
Mark, I see joysticks, what look like joysticks on either side of this, and I'm just curious, what are those for? Like normally on the shuttle, there'd be like a commander seat and a pilot seat in the front. Is that kind of where they would be sitting?
Exactly. You're right next to the commander seat. This is the pilot seat. Orion can be completely operated from either seat. So there is a redundant set of displays and controls on either side. So you notice you highlighted that we have 2, we call them translational hand controllers. The hand controllers that the crew will use to pilot the vehicle once we're in space.
Great. So now we're sitting here. I can see where everyone sits with these seats all out. It doesn't seem like a lot of space, but I imagine they wouldn't need these seats, the astronauts, once they're on their missions.
Yeah, as soon as we get into orbit, the crew gets out of the seats, they take off their suits, and then the seats fold up, and we move them out of their way, and we put the suits in nooks and crannies. You know, you mentioned it doesn't look like a lot of space. This is actually one of the largest spacecraft that we've ever built for humans. The only spacecraft with more of a volume was the space shuttle.
Wow. So when I'm looking inside, like I think, wow, those astronauts on Apollo must have had a hard time, but it would have been smaller than this.
Much smaller. And in fact, with Apollo, the seats were really there and in there all the time. You didn't have nearly the maneuverability you do in here.
Great.
I might point out where you're sitting.
Whoa.
That's where the bathroom's going to be, right through there. Because we're going to ask people to live on board Orion for periods of up to 3 weeks. We're equipping it with a facility, with a toilet. There will be a privacy curtain, but it won't be like shorter missions to and from the space station, which don't have toilets.
So like a trip to the moon, where the Apollo astronauts very famously had to kind of make do with maybe some primitive situations. The folks here will have at least something much nicer.
Yeah, we have a fancy engineering term for it. We call it a waste management system, but it's a space toilet.
Great. Now, what am I looking at up here, right above us all?
This is what we call the docking tunnel, and above us is the docking hatch. When we fly to, for example, the Deep Space Gateway, which will be a spaceport around the moon, We'll dock with that gateway on using a mechanism on the other side of that hatch. And after we dock, we'll open the hatch here and the hatch on the gateway for the astronauts to go back and forth between the vehicles. In a very similar way, when we have landers that we use to land on the moon, landers on the Mars, we'll dock with the landers and the crew will get into and out of the landers via that hatch.
Well, Mark, this is a pretty amazing vehicle for astronauts to fly in. It seems like it can be used for those shorter trips to the station or for the longer trips to the moon or Mars or beyond. I see some windows out here. It seems like they're a lot bigger than Apollo. Am I right there or no?
I can't tell you if they're bigger than Apollo, but we put a lot of effort into the usability of the windows. So if you actually sat in the seat, the windows are designed to allow you to look out and be able to fly the vehicle exactly to where you'd be flying to while you were in your seats. You'll notice that some of the windows have unique shapes and are slanted at certain angles. Every one of those parameters was engineered to give the crew the best viewing conditions possible.
Great. What's next for Orion? While we wait for the critical tests, the abort tests that are coming up, what's the big milestone for astronauts to get on board?
Yeah, really, the next two closest milestones is, first of all, we're going to have the ESA service module for Exploration Mission 1 shipped from Bremen, Germany to the Kennedy Space Center in September of this year. Next month, in August this year, we're going to ship the Exploration Mission 2 crew module from a facility in Louisiana to the Kennedy Space Center. And that crew module, it will be the crew module that takes humans back to the moon for the first time since 1972.
Great. Well, Mark, thanks so much for giving us an inside look at the Orion spacecraft. Very excited to see what the new astronauts, the veterans here, are going to experience once they get back into space on this vehicle.
Thanks for coming today, Terry.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
So there we go. So for some reason the last slide's not loading, but all it is just it just says what's next. So I'm going to talk, in future presentations, I'm going to talk about more components and specs of the launch system, the European service module, which is the component that sits right below the cabin or the crew module, and then look into the design of the spacesuit itself and mission profile. So that pretty much is what I've got, and that's about time too. So let me just close this out.
Well, thank you, Chris. All right. So one of the things that I probably didn't mention when we started is, again, for you, Torrance, there are 3 missions here at Civil Air Patrol. One of them is the cadet program itself, 12 to 18/21 in some cases. We have a whole program where we want to create dynamic citizens out of our youth through various programs, including aerospace education, which is the second arm of Civil Air Patrol. So aerospace education, very important, very difficult job in a senior squadron because, most of us are a bunch of jaded adults. The kids eat this stuff up all the time, and they're usually blowing stuff up or launching things. It's pretty cool. And the third mission, of course, is emergency services. So, of all the things that we do, emergency services is definitely a very serious part of what we do. Search and rescue, aerial photography, other things as required. So, our meeting agenda and schedules are kind of making sure that we hit these different pillars through the month. So that's why there's a conversation about space and the Orion capsule.
One thing on that too, the last one was the Canadian member of the crew actually went through the Canadian version of the Civil Air Patrol as a cadet, and then became an astronaut. So
yeah, a lot of you'd be surprised how many Civil Air Patrol former cadets achieve very illustrious military careers, as well as the public sector careers as well. So we take the cadet program very seriously as well. So it's very very neat stuff. Before we go, the last thing that I shouldn't have forgotten to mention because that's part of my duties, but so it's WAMO time. So WAMO, the Wing Mission Alert Officer, um, it's Alert Patrol. It's part of our emergency services mission. We need to answer the phone when the Air Force calls because we are a part of the Air Force. We're auxiliary to the Air Force. So one of the duties that rotates throughout all the groups is who's going to pick up that phone. Fully automated system. The Air Force Rescue Coordination Center, when they detect ELTs, so when you know of an ELT going off, the sequence of events is it eventually will contact a satellite. The satellite is monitored by SARSAT and some other, Air Force Rescue Coordination Center. They will then validate they have a good signal. And among all the agencies that can be contacted, we are one of them. They will send out that call if it's in our area or in our wing, more likely. An automated system, so this is the part where we come in, it calls us, and it calls whoever's currently active as the WAMO, the Wing Mission Alert Officer. It's not a complicated duty. It's not a difficult duty at all. All you have to do is answer the phone, be polite, take down all the information, and then you hit another button that says find an IC, an incident commander. Without getting too far into our incident command system, it just means find someone who's going to take charge of the mission from the CAP side. Your job is to hit the button, and when it connects to somebody, you talk to that person and you give him all the information you wrote down. He accepts the mission, hopefully, accepts the mission. Your duty is now done. It's a very important duty that almost never gets used. But in the case is, we are technically a knock. That's how it works. It's 24/7 duty. Any active member of Civil Air Patrol can do it, just with watching a couple of videos on how we train it and how to use the tool. Again, it's fully automated. The only thing you have to do is answer the phone, write down some information. So if you're interested or it sounds like something you want to do, again, it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all, but it is a assignment that spans over a 12-hour period. So typically, you will take charge of it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you will release it at 8 o'clock at night. Or some of us nutty people take 2 in a row and just do 24-hour periods. But again, it's very simple. You say, "I'm now the WAMO. You're now the WAMO." Calls come in, you answer, take down information, pass it on, and then the next person in line clicks on the button saying, "I'm the new WAMO," and that's it. That's the duty. So if you're interested, either let me know or check your emails because I'm sure it's been emailed out a few times. Very important duty. Very rare that you actually have to pick up the phone. So WAMO. Anything else? Anyone have anything else to add before we close up for today? All right. Well, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody online.